Well, in my infinite wisdom, I did something really stupid just now. This is my Field King professional backpack sprayer. I showed you guys the introduction to this last summer when I got it. I was using it to spray the garden and the orchard and everything with BT. And, you know, as a whole on the unit, I'm really happy with it. And actually what it did today was it got plugged up, and it's my own stupid fault. This unit so far, like I said, I've been really happy with. Well worth the money. I don't remember how much I spent. Maybe $100. I don't feel like it was that much. Maybe it was 60. Anyway, more than your average little hand pump sprayer that sucks. So here's what happened today in all of my infinite wisdom. I decided to try to use this as my screen. I thought, oh, anything that passes through those perforations will pass through the sprayer, which of course is totally bogus. That doesn't make any sense at all. But I, for some stupid reason, thought that it would. What I had was this bucket of ash water. I dissolved wood ash in here to try to get the potassium out of it, just because I was going to go put wood ash directly on the garden, and then it rained, so my fire pit was wet, so I figured might as well do it wet. Whole different discussion there, but I actually read an article that foliar feeding potassium can have a much better uptake for the plants than putting it on the ground. Anyway, so I had that, and then I was like, oh, well, let me just throw in a little bit more. So I had some bat guano that has good phosphorus in it, and I put some dry molasses, just dumb stuff. And I threw all the dry stuff in the little pot here, and then I poured my ash water over it, and as soon as I walked out to the garden, the thing plugged up. Big time. And so I was going to show you, you know, on cheap little sprayers, typically what plugs up is your tip right here. There's usually no other filter, so it's just this that plugs. But that's not the case on this unit. This actually has this flow regulator there, but it has an integrated filter right here inside of this part of the wand handle. And I had to work to get that thing off. Here it is, plugged up, and you can see the filter has actually collapsed. It's supposed to be a conical shape, and it actually collapsed because the pressure inside of it was not very strong. But it blinded off, and then the pressure was so strong that it made it flatten out the filter. So I had to actually clean that off a little bit. That's all the debris, of course, that got through my bigger pot. And that's still not too fine of a mesh, really. But this little filter tube, it just drops down inside of this part of the barrel. Look how much junk is still in there. See if you guys can get a focus down inside that. Yeah, all that extra debris. I've got to flush this whole thing out. But this little, I'd call it a witch's hat in the oil field. This little filter just slides right inside there. Your flow is in this direction, so it's flowing through the long outside and then coming out through the inside, which makes sense because it gives you a lot more surface area to potentially blind off before it actually fully does. Anyway, now I'm going back through the whole unit. I'm breaking down the whole thing piece by piece and flushing out every orifice and every tube. I mean, that's all that bat guano. Bat guano and fine dry molasses that just hasn't dissolved yet. But I want to flush all this out, get it put back together, and get back to work in the garden. I think it'll be just fine. I just wanted to show you guys, because this little filter, I kept trying to, you know, break this connection right here, because it says filter, and it has an arrow on it. But I don't think there's actually a connection to break here. I tried to look online real quick for a manual for this thing, and I couldn't find one. Other than it just showed, I just found a diagram that showed, you know, that this little filter basically just sat inside of there, and it seems to work okay, because when you thread it all up tight, it sits up against this flange here, so it can't move. But it was packed off in there, so I had to actually take a screwdriver, just a Phillips head screwdriver, and poke down through this hole and, you know, tap it to get that filter to push out. Of course, I had to feel around because it was flattened and then it was shoved over against one side, so I had to feel around to actually find that little hard plastic tip of it there to shove it out. So I've already gone through, I've taken my hose off the bottom here and flushed through my main hose. I'm gonna fill the unit with fluid, I think, or put some water in there, pressure it up. Hang on, baby. I'm going to pressure it up. I'm going to run some water through here to flush that clean. I've already run the garden hose through the barrel or through the tank and flushed all of that out. So like I said, I'm going to start flushing everything one more time and putting it together as I go. And I think we'll be right back in business. But I just mostly wanted to show you guys, of course, I had to admit that I made a really stupid mistake. But I want to show you guys how this little screen, I didn't even know that filter was in there, to be honest with you. When I bought this thing, man, I just threw it on my back and went to work. And yeah, it's good that it's in there because it kept that flow control from getting plugged up. So anyway, just want to show you guys how it all kind of breaks down and comes apart. Obviously, you can see all the little nuts in different places that those things break apart too. But this was absolutely the issue there, was that it was all packed off.